we go. All right.
Okay. So we're in the middle of the story. It's page 84, and the little catch-up just in my mind, one of the famous Breises, maybe it's famous because I think about it all the time, and that is Adam Arishon on the first day, question about whether it's the first Shabbos or Motzei Shabbos. I think it makes much more sense. It fits with the Brisa to say it was Mamash the first day, which was Friday, sitting out, and the sun starting to set. That's never happened to him before, and he assumes that it's all gloom and doom, all because of his actions, not unreasonably. I mean, Hashem did promise death if he would eat from the fruit, and he had, and he thought the worst. He thought that everything was coming, it was bleak and coming to an end. All night long, he on one corner and Chava on the other corner, they're crying, they're weeping, they're fasting. Interesting implications of fasting on Shabbos Kodesh. That's a question. If you're not allowed to do that, but it was sincere, at least in their part. They were really trying to make amends, and they had emunah. They had great faith all night long. Please Hashem. That's what you do if you have emunah. You dive into Hashem for reprieve. And lo and behold, on the eastern horizon, suddenly ever so faint gleams of light that became gently stronger and stronger until suddenly what's that thing coming over the horizon looks like some kind of massive ball of fire. And it rises in the sky, and they see, wow, Hashem gives even if we don't deserve. They acknowledge for the first time in history ultimate chesed. Chesed shel emes is when it can't be reciprocated, and we certainly don't deserve it. And then he composes our chapter of Tehillim, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbos. It is indeed Shabbos. Tov Lodos L'Shem, they're the first to give thanks. L'zamer L'Shimcha Elyon, to sing praises to your elevated name. L'hagid Baboker Chazdecha, to proclaim your chesed in the morning. V'emunascha balilos, and to have emunah all night long. So at that point, we'll say, Kevan Shira Ha'olam Shemeir Uvala Mizrach. When the morning came and he saw the world was becoming gradually lighter from the east, Samach Simcha Gedola, he experienced a great joy, and he realized the whole thing was part of the daily routine, something he hadn't gone through yet. Amad Uvana Mizbachot, he got up and he built altars. Right? Why multiple altars? One is the Korbanola, one is for the Ketores, the incense, right? And this is something what we get this idea. Later on, we'll use it for the Mishkan and the Mikdash, Beis Mikdash. And then Vehevi Shor Shekarnav Kodmos Lefarsosav Vehelahu Olah. This is also mentioned in the Gemara in Avodah Zarah. Interesting, very specific. What did he offer? He brought an ox whose horns had preceded its hooves. In the process of creation, the horns came first, which is not the ordinary, we call derech hateva. This is not the way of Hashem's nature, but in this case, the horns came first. Ordinarily, we know that the hooves are present, and the horns only emerged at a later time. But in the first ox that was created, it was the opposite. And the idea, the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah emphasizes this, is that all animals that were created were brought into their existence in their fully mature state. So they had the horns because it was mature already. Interesting too, Hashem, as it were, in the creation of the ox, he drew it out of the ground head first. And then the horns thereby came out first. That's the idea. Rashi describes that in the Gemara in Avodah Zarah. So the comment here is that also in the Gemara in Avodah Zarah is that Adam wanted to bring a specific offering that was similar to him. He too was created, if you remember, we talked about this last night. He too was created in full form, in full maturity. He immediately was vertical and walking, and he emerged as a fully formed human. something that also would never happen. So it's logical that he would offer an animal that has the similar quality, because really when we're bringing an animal on the Mizbeach, on the altar, we're really bringing ourselves. I belong in his place. I should be sacrificed right now. It's pure chesed. It's from Hashem that you're accepting this animal in my stead.
Rabbi, should we assume that there are more than should we assume that there were multiples of animals that were created on Yom Shishi?
Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah. And he brought this animal as a korban ola, which is a burnt offering. And we know this from the verse, Shene'amar v'sitav lashem mishor par makrin mafris. Difficult pasuk, however, even on a good day in Tehillim, our school translates it like this. It says, and this should be more pleasing before Hashem than the ox bull, horned and hooved. And the horned and hooved, in other words, the horns came before the hooves. That's the diuk here. And this is pleasing before Hashem. Hashem sees that Adam is quite sincere when he brings this korban. Shor shehela Adam arishon ufar shehela Noach, va'ayil shehela Avraham. 3 korbanos are singled out. This ox that Adam brought, the bull that Noach offered, and the ram that Avram would bring instead of Yitzchak at the Akedah. Shehela Avram Avinu tachas beno al gabei hamizbeach, that he brought on the altar. Kulam karnoseim kodmos lefarsoteim. In fact, all 3 of these animals had this unusual, not natural quality. All of them came out of the ground through in the initial days of creation, and all of their horns came before their hooves. Shene'amar vayisa Avram es einav vayar v'hine ayel achar ne'achaz. Avram raised his eyes and he saw the ram was caught in the thicket. And this is the ram, it's the primordial ram. And he sees it because he's caught through his horns. So that's the first thing that he spots. All of them, therefore, there's something about the animals that come in their place, and there's something distinct about their animals, that they're all not normal. They go against nature. And isn't that kind of the case with Adam and Noach and Avraham? In Adam, I guess there was no normal by him, but that's the point. He doesn't fit any later prototype. Noach famously went against the whole direction of his generation. He was a tzaddik b'dorosav, as the pasuk describes him, and Avram is the paragon of virtue in growing up in a house of avodah zarah and in a world where avodah zarah was totally manifest, and all of them have that distinction. Plus the idea of the top coming before the bottom. Remember, in the way Hashem designs the body, the more spiritual part is up there. It's the reason why people make tie something between their upper body and their lower body during davening, because we want to keep the spiritual and the physical separate. So this is just a bit of the significance of all this. I'm going to continue. After Adam Avinu made tshuva, Adam Arishon made tshuva, and he brought his korban. So then Hashem showed him his rachamim. At that moment, 3 groups of angels, ministering angels, came down from heaven. In their hands were harps, lyres, and all types of instruments, musical instruments. Shira imo, and they all sang a song along with him. It's interesting, they just quote the first part of the pasuk, but the relevant part of the pasuk is not quoted here, and that is after Lagi Alei Asor Valei Navel Alei Higayom Bechimor. In the chapter of Tehillim, if you read it through, you actually see that there's all kinds of musical accompaniment. I mean, this could be video where Adam Arishon is sort of just singing there, and Gan Eden, no, after Gan Eden, after the fall, and then suddenly, like through some kind of pyrotechnic kind of like a special like effect kind of thing, angels come lowered in. I mean, this would sell big in the concert circuit, right? Like they all come around, they all like all the different musics coming in, but it's like that. I mean, it's something. It was something that was. I mean, music is usher, we know. Because we're abusing something that is a source of great spirituality. When it was done properly, as here in the case, in the form of praising Hashem, as it was in the Beis Hamikdash with the Levim doing their professional job of playing their instruments and singing, so then it's an out of body kind of an experience of transcendence, and that's the way it should be. Today we replicate that and cheapen it for our own aesthetic pleasure. It's not the purpose of music. Really, everything is supposed to be for Hashem, and so Adam is setting the right model. I mean, when you're thinking about grand displays of music, orchestrated, symphonic kinds of music, this one sets the mold. To relate your kindness in the morning and your faith all night long. And then the rest of the part that I translated, ArtScroll translates, upon a 10-stringed instrument and upon lyre, Lyre, with singing accompanied by harp, all of which with an angelic orchestra must have been gorgeous. Lagiba boker chasdecha ze olam haba shenim shab kabkarim. What does it mean to proclaim a new idea? Proclaiming your kindness in the morning. This refers to actually another concept of Olam Haba. So already with Ma'aseh Bereishis, we're brought right into the concept of Olam Haba. And Olam Haba is seen as like a morning. It's like a new start, something fresh. Shene'emar chodeshim lepakarim rabba munasecha. Pasuk in Eicha, we'll be reading Eicha soon enough. The Pasuks that Yirmiyahu teaches us, his kindnesses are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Anybody recognize the Nosson of that pasuk? Should I say it again? You should know it. It's not exactly this phrasing, but it's like this. Ari, you have an evil twin?
I gotta do dishes now, so.
Oh, I hear. Got it. Okay. Kind of a scary concept there, Ari Swift's evil twin coming to haunt us. So the pasuk again is Chadashim lapakarim rabba munasecha Moda ani lifanecha melachai v'kayem shechazar debi nishmasi chemla rabba munasecha. Right? We say Moda ani. Only for the last 500-600 years that became the minhag, the first thing that we say in the morning based on this pasuk. So that's all of which is illustrating how morning and mornings are a metaphor for Olam Haba, Vemunascha Balilos, and in contrast, proclaiming your faith at night, Ze Olam Hazeh Shenim Shal Kalelos. That's this world which is likened to nighttime. Shenemar Masa Doma Elai Kore Miseir Shomer ma milaila, shomer ma milel. So this one, it's in Yeshaya, a prophecy concerning Duma. Duma is a reference to Edom. It says, he calls out to me because of Seir, watchman, what of the night? Watchman, what of the night? He's calling out to the guard. What are you doing at night? Right? And the guard is there because it's guarding this world. It's one of the reasons nighttime and Olam Hazeh are very connected. One of the reasons why there's a primacy of learning Torah at night. Night being so physical, we're so subject to the elements, and so if you infuse it with spirituality, that's your best defense. Ba'osa Shah Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu. At that moment, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Im Eini Dan Es Hanachash. If I don't do something quick with that pesky serpent, tell you that guy, Nimtsesi Machariv Es Kol Olam Kulo. I will effectively be destroying the entire world. I better do something quickly. Get rid of that that pest, that emerging problem. The Mefarish tells us this serpent has a smooth silver tongue that he can talk all of the world's creatures into eating from the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra and wreak havoc in the Kadosh Baruch Hu's orderly creation. So as it were, not that there's rapidity or even time in a Kadosh Baruch Hu's reality, but he's conveyed to us in temporal terms, as here, and that's the Omar. The Brisa continues and says, "Zeh shimlachti vasisiv melech al kol haolam kulo heach nishtabesh v'ochal peros ha'ila." And he said, "This snake, who I've crowned and made him king over all the beasts of the world." By the way, that's interesting. Kadosh Baruch Hu had previously made the snake the king. Right? He didn't say this in so many explicit words earlier on, but here we have it outright. Right before there was the lion of the king of the beasts, we had the snake. And now that he's been crowned, how can he have erred so strongly and eaten from the fruit? Right? What a blunder! How could such a creature make such a terrible mistake? Miyad nifna elav v'kilalo. Immediately, he turned on him and cursed him. Very important note in the art scroll, referencing Chazal. The Gemara says he doesn't give the snake a chance to defend himself. Why? Because the snake would have had a really strong defense. He could have said, Rav v'talmid, if you got a master and you have a student, mishomim, who should you listen to, the master or the student? Meaning the snake said, I'm just the student, I'm the underling here. You told him not to eat from the fruit, I told him yes to eat from the fruit. It's not my problem they didn't listen to you. Any logical being would listen to the teacher, not the student. And had the snake been, slick, they are kind of slick, aren't they? Had he been smooth in his and talked his way out of it, he could have defended himself. So Hashem doesn't even give him a chance. By the way, this is obviously, in this regard, we can read into this and understand that the snake is a metaphor for the Yetzer Hara, and all this is great. Like, you don't want to give the Yetzer Hara a chance. Once it starts, it's slick, smooth talking, right? Gets you into whatever kind of frame of mind he wants you. He's got you. You're finished. That works with depression. That works with yeush, despair, all kinds of things that the Yetzer Hara will say, well, you don't really have a chance. I refer you to the Gemara in Sanhedrin with the Yetzer Hara, where the Satan smooth talks Avram Avinu and tries to dissuade him from bringing Yitzchak and the Akedah. And if you pay attention to that Agada, to what stands out in my memory is he makes really good arguments, the snake. I mean, it's not just Stam. He says to Avram, he says, you taught the world, Avram, chesed. You're the master of chesed. You brought half the generation to the acknowledgement of Kadosh Baruch Hu. They see you as a paragon of virtue, and you're going to go down in history, you're going to lose it all. They're going to say the man who taught us chesed took his own son and sacrificed him. Wow. That's a really good argument. So don't even give a pitchon peh, as Chazal say. Don't even give an opening to the snake to get his word in. Hashem, after the sin, doesn't. He cursed him. Shneimar vayomer Hashem Elokim el Nachash. Hashem said to the Nachash, because you've done this, you're cursed from beyond all the cattle, beyond all the beasts of the field. What happened exactly? Rabbi Yossi Omer Rabbi Machlokes. Rabbi Yossi says, Ilmale nichtav kilalaso besofan, had the snake's curse been delayed and written only at the end, after the punishments of Adam and Chavas, so that he would have had a couple more moments as the most clever of all animals, kfar hechri v'skol ha'olam, he would have already managed to spread his ideas further and destroyed the world. So as it were, not that Hashem is in time, but there's the sense of just in the nick of time, cutting off the Yetzer Hara, right? Which we should definitely read into as well. We have to be swift. No offense, Ari. We have to be full of alacrity and get the thing before he gets us. Nip it in the bud. Finally, finishing off the brisa. This is a long one. I acknowledge that. It's a wonderful one. It's very nuanced and quotable and all kinds of
wonderful,
different
yeah.
insights. What is that?
No, it's a great one.
Yeah, it's very powerful. Shibro, I by the way, I said a bunch of it over when after Gemara Shiur last night. I went up and spoke to my younger daughters, Rivka and Chana, and I said over a lot of it as they went to sleep. They love this. They interesting. You can you should talk up to kids. They have much greater capacity than they're given credit for. I talk to them on a very high level, and they are very perceptive, and they get it. Another famous idea. When a Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One, created Adam, he shaped him front and back. I referred to this recently, and it's probably a familiar idea to most of you. Shinemar achor v'kedem sartani v'toshes alai kapecha. The pasuk in Tehillim tells us, "Back and front you have shaped me, and you have laid your hand upon me." I know some of us are real hypocrites. You can say that some of us are utterly two-faced. But in the case of Adam, he literally was. He had two faces, and he was not a Siamese twin. He had Adam on one side and Chava on the other, facing the opposite direction. The Gemara that takes us up in Yuma wonders who got to walk first. My turn. Chava went first, and Adam said, no, I'm going. How did they walk out of shul? I'm sorry, I just made that up as a question. It was relevant to what we talked about the other day. Great image, no?
Which side of the Mechitza do they sit on?
Wow, we're really connecting all of our topics this summer. That's really nice. Okay, yeah. The comment in the Magen Avot is the double-faced form symbolized that man's power and influence extended in all directions, and that wherever he would turn, he would succeed. This striking mark of human mastery made such a strong impression on the angels that they came down from heaven to enter into Adam's service. Adam was that powerful. This, by the way, you should look for more comprehensive treatment of the physical state of the original person in the Gemara Neruvin. It also talks about some variations. I think I alluded to this also recently. In one instance, she was actually taken as his rib. Sela could be interpreted as rib, could be interpreted as side. Not 100% clear what the word means. V'yardu malachei hasharis l'sharso. Unetalo akadosh baruch hu unesano tachas knafav. The angels descended from heaven to serve him. The Binyan Yehoshua tells us they would prepare meat and wine for him. This is filling in the whole picture now. Now we understand how the snake started to get jealous. He saw this fancy treatment he was getting, Chateaubriand imported from the streets of Paris, and they got the whole works. Best highest extra though. No problem of kashrus. And some interpreted the Sharso as not just serving him delights, but that they sang before him, being totally awed by his greatness, that they mistook him for a celestial being, and they were going to sing his praises, Adam's praises. I mean, Adam was made with Tzelem Elokim. There was that godly manifestation in him. Hi, Shmuel, welcome.
Rabbi.
And then the pasuk that it conveys all this is, "You have laid your hand on me," which is the reference to Hashem's sheltering wings. Like Adam was in this lofty kind of a state in the initial instance, and we can only look on this longingly to wonder what such an existence was like, because what the existence will be like, Lasid Lavo, in the future days. Another explanation of "you have laid your hand on me." Kapecha, kaf, right? Kaf, like the letter chaf, is like the palm of a hand. So kapecha, you put upon me your hand, capital Y. Kevin Sarach. This is, I think, a very famous idea. It's in this brisa. Once Adam sinned, Natalo Hakadosh Baruch Hu echad mehen. Hashem took away one of his two facial figures, and he left him in his present form. Only after the sin, whatever that even, how that would work, and where was he when she was talking to the snake? Then don't try to make the cinematic version of this. It won't appear on your film. And then the final note on Brias Ha'adam. Mikan, at the very end of this very long, wonderful brisa, the first chapter still Ches, brisa number Ches, 8. Mikan la'adam v'lemikdash k'shenivru b'shtei yadav nivru. Hear from this, these psukim, that Adam and the Beis HaMikdash were created. They were created with both of Hashem's hands. Not literally. None of this is taken literally. Hashem is not physical in any way. But the idea that he has two hands, the Gemara conveys, is he put all of his resources into these two fundamental creations, Adam and the Beis HaMikdash. The man who would have the greatest parallel and similarity to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world, and the Beis HaMikdash, which would be the proverbial home of the Shekhinah in this world. And both of them required more of an intensive effort, as it were, in Hashem's creation. Right, and this is true in both the physical and the spiritual sense. There's also a heavenly Beis HaMikdash that parallels the earthly one, and of course, parallel to the Mikdash is having both a manifestation in this world and the next world. Adam has a manifestation in this world, the next world. I don't know if you realize this. This is a big idea in Kabbalah. Every time a person does a mitzvah, it has reverberations in the upper spiritual heavens. Every time a person does a mitzvah, there's a malach, there's an angel that's created. Conversely, an avera produces some kind of demonic figure. I mean, meanwhile, we're just kind of stumbling down here in our own ignorance, not realizing the meta significance of every single detail of our behavior. But in the Shemaim, it's all coming. Yeah, there are ramifications right now. The fact that that we're learning this together, something cosmic is going on. There are reverberations. Where do we know that Adam was created with two hands? Pasuk in Tehillim also says, "Your hands made me and prepared me." Right? We were, I guess, when you buy cookies in the shop, and they want to persuade you that this is like, from mom's kitchen kind of a thing, down home, all good. They'll say, handmade. Oh, wow, handmade. I always wonder when they have that label, handmade, if they washed before. But that's just my own skepticism. Yeah, so in this case, we're handmade. And the metaphor, remember, is apt. The Gemara elsewhere says that the creation of Adam was similar to creation of Challah. Just like we would roll the dough with the flour and the water, that was the dust in the water. And the leavening was, of course, the breath of life that HaKadosh Baruch Hu breathed into us. Then we ask, Minayin lemikdash nivra b'shtei yadav. Where do you know the Beis HaMikdash was created with both of his hands? Shneimar, a pasuk in Shmos. Mikdash adoshem konenu yadecha. The sanctuary, my Lord, that your hands established. Hands, plural. Va'omer v'yiviem el gvul kodsho harze kansa yemino. He brought them to his sacred boundary. This mountain, his right hand acquired. That's from Tehillim. Va'omer Hashem yimloch le'olam v'ed. And also says, immediately after that, the pasuk in Shmos says that Hashem will rule forever, implying that this mikdash indeed will endure forever. Now, what does that mean? The mikdash will endure forever. The kedusha, at least there's a machlok, there's a discussion about that. The kedusha that was assigned in the early second temple period Kitchel Shaisel Kitchel Asilavo was indeed permanent. And even if the Beis Hamikdash would be destroyed, but there's a presence there. At which point, Bleiweiss can't hold back and must digress. Because I did my Hishtal Mutmore Derech in order to keep this thing, if it's really even worth it. Where is it? This. Yep. You know this, right? You've seen it dangling on my neck when we got on Teelim. So in order to keep this thing, I got to pay a yearly due, and then I have to take a course through the secular, very secular, really sickly secular tourism ministry, and they have one. Harazesim. How could you go wrong in Harazesim? Oh, what a miserable, miserable tule it was this afternoon. I just was in agony. I mean, secular people just took. I don't know about you. Have you been to Harazesim? I have dreams on Harazesim. It's such a tangible part of me because it's the best view into Bleiweiss. And so many Gemaras, including the one I'm learning right now, because whatever you're learning, it's always about going on in your life. I'm learning the second parak of Shavuos right now, and it's all sugis about the Beis Hamikdash. And when I was learning Yuma, I was dreaming the Beis Hamikdash. And last week's Parshas Para, right, Paraduma. So they shech the Paraduma and Harazesim across the Beis Hamikdash. And the potential to talk about Kedusha is immense there. And of course, she's talked a bunch about Rechilus, about a bunch of secular people who have no real meaning. I missed an opportunity there. But I stood to the side, took out my Gemara and Shavuos, and learned some of these wonderful, wonderful texts about how they, actually, what I learned about, look it up in Shavuos, nobody learns that. Anybody learn Shavuos out there? Didn't think so. It's the Gemara, second parak, Tesvav, Amud Beis, I think I'm holding, where they talk, and Amud Aleph too, they talk about the ceremony where they initially sanctified. They were Mekadesh, the various parts of Yerushalayim and the Azara and Harabais, and how those procedures actually work. They're very technical, but also very beautiful and described in vivid detail. And I stood up on Harazesim and looked in there. And I'm reminded of our Bryce that we just read because the Kedusha is still there. I felt it. I don't know if any of those secular people on this tour felt it. They were all into their Rechilus, but I felt I was in a different dimension of time and place. Okay, we can start the next chapter. Unless somebody has a comment or a question. Parak base. I don't, I'm kind of like, I'm not even worrying about time. We're going to do what we do. I'm enjoying it immensely. It's a great way to go through Avos Rabbi Nosson, back and forth and going and elucidating it as we go. And we'll finish whatever we can. Maybe we'll make a siyum. I can't tell you. It's 41 chapters though. So at this rate, it's hard to imagine a siyum, but whatever, we'll do what we can. I hate the notion of rushing. That's why I never subscribe to Daf Yomi, because I feel like, just knowing myself, I would finish the Daf without really learning it. I want to learn. By the way, this is the second chapter. We're in the middle of an Indian. We're still explaining the mission of Pirkei Avos that says that we have to make a siyag, a fence around the Torah. And then the Bryce initially listed various figures who did this. Kadosh Baruch Hu did it. Adam Arishon did it. We've only seen those two. And now we're going to see the third example. Ezu siyag she'asasa Torah lidvareha. What fence did the Torah make around its words? Apparently the Torah, personified here for the discussion, made its own fence around itself. The Torah itself says, you shall not approach a woman in the time of her unclean separation. Very famous pasuk. What do we learn from it? I'm asking you just a quick brush-up test. What are some of the ideas? What are some of the halachas we get from this famous pasuk? Nida will be a good starter since it does talk about Nida after all. Very perceptive of you, Eitan. Negia. The lav d'oraisa of Negia is from this pasuk. Histaklus. The lav d'oraisa of looking at girls is from this pasuk. Smelling her perfume, even looking at her etzba katana, if you do it in a lustful kind of a way. Right? That whole area is derived from this pasuk. And the Mekubalim go to town on this pasuk. I can't tell you how exactly. The Ramban alludes to it. Ramban. that this is a heavy pasuk. So now our Breiweiss is telling us the same pasuk is itself a siag. It's a fence around the Torah, as follows: Yachol yichabkena v'yanashkena. Here we go. You might think when it says, the pasuk just says, "You shall not uncover the nakedness of a woman in the time of her unclean separation." So then you might have had a reasonable havamina that maybe you could hug her and kiss her. Don't get any such ideas. You might think that you could speak idle talk with her, flirting, passing the time. Any of these acts, though, of course, could lead to physical intimacy. Often they do. One of the reasons why we try to stay away from each other. As the Machaber says immortally, in the beginning of Siman Chaf Aleph in the Even Ezer, he says, Tsarich Adam Lisrachek Min Anashim. Could finish my sentence?
Me'od, me'od.
Thank you, Yitzchak Chaim. Very sharp.
Never
Me'od,
heard that
me'od.
before.
Very, very stay away. Very, very stay away. It's this pasuk. Have nothing to do with them unless you're married to them.
Oh, Bleiweiss.
Yes?
Is the reason that it could lead to intimacy, or is the reason the flirting itself that's bad? Like, what's the bad part? I mean, they're both
that's
bad.
a good point. That's a good point. Well, the Breiweiss clearly understands is that one thing could lead to intimacy. We just read that explicitly.
So I'm saying, but that doesn't
There
cancel.
is another logic. What you're suggesting correctly, that in addition to that, these are prohibitions in and of themselves, even if they don't wind up leading to something. But you should not do these things. That's what you're getting at.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is it only
By
bad
the way, it's
because
a similar machlokas rishonim with regards to yichud. Is yichud itself lest it lead to something, or is it a prohibition in and of itself? Similar discussion.
Well, how do they come out?
Machlokas. So be careful of both.
Okay.
So you might have thought that it's okay to hug and kiss, okay to flirt with her, chat away. Talmud Lomar, lo sikrav. This is also a very famous fundamental brisa that's brought down by the Rishonim as halacha. This is the source. Did I understate it when I told you that Avos Rabbi Nosson is really, really important? Lo sikrav. Don't approach. Don't uncover nakedness. Approach. A tikrovis is coming close to something. All of these are examples, and there are many others, of coming close to girls, to women. We're supposed to stay away from them. A few more examples. How are we doing on time? We have a couple more minutes. Yachol yishanima b'vigadeha alamita. You might have thought that you could sleep next to her on the same bed while she's clothed and he's clothed. Talmud lomar lo sikrav. Can't do that either. Sorry. It's memories flood in. I have so many stories about each of these things. Summer of '97, I led, after all those years leading Reform conservative kids, I did a summer leading one of these modern Orthodox summer camps. It was so striking to me how, with maybe like a couple differences, it was almost the same kind of experience with the modern Orthodox kids as with the Reform kids. So many of them were just not holding. I just could not care less. And I didn't realize this. I really didn't know much about modern Orthodoxy. I still don't. I sort of they told me I'm the rabbi and I've got to enforce the rules. And the rules include, all this stuff, Nagi and the likes. So I got up the first day and I said, this is what I was asked to say. And here's what I'm saying. And of course, I was asked to, I didn't agree with the approach. I don't want to have to explain to you why. I'm just telling you that, it's brought down the halacha, that it's an Issa d'Oraisa, it's a Torah prohibition, and you're either in or you're out. I can pretty it up and say, well, please be Shomer Nagia, and all that kind of stuff. I don't like the Kiruv stuff, though. I just laid it on the line and told them. So the kids just, some of them didn't like that at all, because they'd never heard that approach. They were, what? Because, we're Orthodox, Rabbi, but we touch. So what are you going to do about that? I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but they did all kinds of shtick that summer. So one of their things was they had to, on hikes, we'd wear these jerry cans, take turns wearing these jerry cans. We had extra water, and they would, the boys and the girls would drag the jerry cans. Not touching, Rabbi, not touching. I said, it's all Bal Sikrav. I mean, anything that you're doing with the intention of flirting and creating some kind of affection, it's all the same. What do you think you're getting away with? You might think that she may wash her face and apply makeup to her eyes to make herself attractive to her husband during this time. This is now referring to Anita, but it could also be applied to any woman who might cohabit with any man defined as an Erev, as one of the Arayos, which is most men. Talmud Lomar v'hadava b'nidasa. The Torah tells us no, that a woman suffers through her separation. She can't do it. By the way, that's halacha too. A woman should not make herself up and make herself attractive during the days that she's in nida. It's a tease. It's a temptation to her husband. She shouldn't do that.
I thought we're potentially lenient with that nowadays.
Might be. This is not straight halacha. That one you might have to look into. Maybe. Because now there's even more of a need. But again, we're very, these are what's called, this is part of the list of what's called harchakos. When a man's wife is in nida, they have to do a number of things to distance themselves. And in a sense, we're more machmir because they're used to each other. And like he might forget himself and say, oh, it's just my wife. So that's why they have to sleep in separate beds. And when they eat together, they always have to have a reminder on the table, right? It's that time of the month and we can't pass we can't pass anything over from one to the other. And a lot of separations during this interval, and it's important that they keep them. I have one more minute. Let me just finish the brisa, and it explains this last point also. Kol yamim shebenidasa tiyeh benidui. All the days that she's in nida, which means separation, she's considered as if she's in nidui, which is another word for cherem, for excommunication. So they're at a certain level that they're distant during that period. And then, of course, it makes it all the more sublime when they come back together again, which comes back to the mikveh. Mikan amru, from here, Chazal say a principle. Kol minavelis atzma b'mei nidasa. Any woman who makes herself unattractive during this nida period, I realize translating nida as a period is a little redundant. Ruach chachamim nochei mena. The spirit of the rabbis are pleased with her. She's good. She's beseder gemor, that woman. V'chol hamitkashetes atzma b'mei nidasa ein ruach chachamim nochei mena. And the opposite is also true. A woman who adorns herself, the rabbis are not happy with her. So Eitan, maybe there's some leniencies on this nowadays, but certainly this brisa would rail against such women. Right. Just saying.
So actually, since I have the book in front of me, so I'm actually looking at the footnote 3 right there.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah. Let's see what do you got. What do we got in the footnote? You read it.
So the halacha follows the view of Rabbi Akiva, who expounds in the Gemara in Shabbos, who expounds the verse,
it's not forbidden to adorn herself.
Right.
Yeah.
And rules the woman is not forbidden to adorn.
Right. There's a conflicting value that doesn't even come up at all in our brisa, that shemet is gan al baila. We're more concerned that as a general thing, she'll become repulsive, and then even after she's in nida, he'll still be repulsed by her, which is a live problem. That's certainly a possibility. Yeah.
And then Torah and Shulchan Aruch, right, that's permitted, but they say reluctantly. Apparently. So apparently then it's
there might be some middle ground. I mean, if you could potentially reach both objectives. A woman can look dignified and not repulsive, but at the same time, she doesn't have to be eye-catchingly attractive either. Right. Some kind of a middle, dignified, certainly presentable, but not eye-catching. Whereas when she's not in nida and it's just the husband and the wife, for example, she should look very attractive, and there's an Indian to do so as much as possible. We will pick this up tomorrow night, B'ezras Hashem, and I'll be back in 15 minutes for Gemara.
Just a fun fact. So
I love fun facts, especially when they're from Eitan Van.
So in the photography world, it's like kind of a known thing that shooting with couples for engagement shoots is one thing, but shooting with couples during the time nida is a whole different, like it's even more difficult to work with because they take it so much more because they're much more careful.
Interesting. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I have many stories that I also come to my mind too, but lack of time. We'll work some tomorrow. Okay. I'll see some of you at least in 15 minutes.